faithfully delivering value, interpreting great books from around the world. Hello, this is Sally talking books. I'm the interpreter Wu Haiyun for this book. Today, I'll interpret the book called Shark's Fin and Sichuan Pepper. Just hearing the title, everyone knows, this is a book about food. Well, indeed it is. This book talks about the cuisine of our great China. But the special thing about this book is that its author is a foreigner. Fuchsia Dunlop is a British person who has won the James Beard Award for cooking writing, known as the Oscars of the food world, multiple times. And she is probably the most recognized Chinese food expert in the Western world today. In Shark's Fin and Sichuan Pepper, Fuchsia records her story of gradually getting into Chinese cuisine and falling in love with it. Generally speaking, British people are quite conservative when it comes to food, but Fuchsia is an exception. Her mother had many foreign students, so she was exposed to various exotic foods from a young age. While most British people had only roast meat, sausages, beef, mashed potatoes, and macaroni and cheese on their tables, Fuchsia was already used to Japanese sushi, Arab hummus, or Indian cucumber raita. But Chinese cuisine is still quite different. Although Fuchsia had eaten Chinese food in the UK, when she first came to China and encountered authentic Chinese cuisine, she was shocked by century eggs, which caught her off guard. Fuchsia describes her first impression of century eggs in the book like this. These two halves of century egg seem to be staring at me like the devil's eyes invading a nightmare, deep, dark, and gleaming with a threatening light. The egg white isn't white. It's a dirty, translucent brown. The yolk isn't yellow. It's a lump of black sludge surrounded by a greenish-gray ring, like it's moldy. And the smell is quite terrifying, too. There was a disgusting stench that made it impossible for her to swallow. But Fuchsia overcame her initial fright and continued to bravely explore Chinese cuisine. Her parents taught her from a young age to be a polite British person. Eat whatever is given to you. Therefore, when Fuchsia first arrived in China, she almost, without hesitation, ate whatever Chinese people placed in front of her. By chance, Fuchsia went to Chengdu and was completely conquered by a hole-in-the-wall restaurant's fish-flavored eggplant, stir-fried kidney flowers, cold chicken salad, and bean paste fish. After that, she applied for and received a scholarship from the British Council and became an exchange student in Chengdu. Fuchsia admitted that her interest in Sichuan cuisine far exceeded her academic interests. Whenever she had free time, she'd head off campus to hunt for tasty dishes like spicy chicken and twice-cooked pork. A passion for cooking. She also loved asking about Sichuan cuisine recipes. Luckily, in the land of abundance, almost everyone's a foodie who enjoys chatting about cooking and eating. Even the most boring taxi driver would instantly transform when food came up, full of passion and interest, describing their favorite recipes in minute detail. Fuchsia started by experimenting with Sichuan cuisine on her own, but soon she wasn't satisfied with this amateur approach and decided to go pro. She studied at the Sichuan Higher Institute of Cuisine and became a genuine Sichuan cuisine expert. After that, she traveled to culinary hubs like Changsha, Hong Kong, Fujian, and Yangzhou to explore cooking and food cultures across China. Fuchsia wrote Shark's Fin and Sichuan Pepper for foreign readers, aiming to introduce authentic Chinese cuisine to the West and spark cultural dialogue. As a foreigner discussing Chinese food, Fuchsia offers a unique and fresh perspective. Reading her book often makes you think, oh, so that's it, or why didn't I see that? She also uses universal culinary standards to analyze foreigners' biases about Chinese food, which is super informative. Now, let's see what makes Chinese cuisine great in this British girl's eyes. What's so wonderful about it? According to Fuchsia, the beauty of Chinese cuisine lies first in its seasoning. Here, Sichuan cuisine stands out. The core skill Sichuan chefs learn is seasoning, which is also the most fun part. Foreigners and even some Chinese often oversimplify Sichuan flavors as just mala, numbing, and spicy, as if they only use chilies and Sichuan peppercorns, which is totally misleading. Sichuan chefs excel at blending sweet, sour, salty, spicy, and other basic tastes to create mind-blowing complex flavors. For example, to make the classic Yushan flavor, add pickled chilies for a hint of spice, and a sweet sour taste is key. Use scallions, ginger, and garlic for great aromas. Sometimes, for yuchang, add pixian, dubanjiang to fully engage the taste buds with layers of flavor. The home-style flavor of home-style tofu is mainly savory and fragrant, with mild spice from seasonings like dubanjiang, salt, soy sauce, and sometimes pickled chilies, fermented black beans, or sweet sauce. The red oil flavor of Sichuan wontons is a delicious blend of chili oil, soy sauce, and sugar. You can also add sesame oil for extra aroma. Sichuan cuisine's seasoning can range from small to large. As small as a bowl of dandan noodles, a small bowl of noodles topped with a bit of dark, crispy minced beef. It looks unassuming, but once you pick up your chopsticks and mix it, it wakes up the spices hidden at the bottom. Every noodle gets coated in a sauce mixed from soy sauce, chili oil, sesame paste, and Sichuan peppercorns, creating an earth-shattering effect. As large as a full banquet, a carefully arranged Sichuan feast uses every trick in the book to excite your appetite. First, it wakes your taste buds with just the right amount of chili oil. Then it stirs your lips and tongue with the numbing tingle of Sichuan peppercorns. A spicy, sweet flavor that feels like a gentle caress and kiss to your palate. Dry fried chilies sparkle with a tangy sweet taste, soothing you. Finally, a sip of nourishing broth calms your whole spirit, making you feel like you've ascended to paradise. Of course, seasoning matters almost everywhere. Whether it's French, Japanese, or Mexican cuisine, they all focus on it. In Fuchsia's view, what makes Chinese cuisine truly unique and unmatched in the world is texture. Chinese cuisine, whether it's the lavish feasts of high society or the simple joys of everyday meals, at its core, it's all about texture. Chinese people especially value certain textures, like crispiness, as in fresh bamboo shoots. For cold jellyfish salad and duck or goose intestines in hot pot, a texture similar to crispiness is flakiness, which is dry. A more brittle crispiness. The best example is roast duck skin. Some foods, like roast suckling pig skin, can be called crispy flaky because it combines both textures. There's also a texture called shuang, meaning a refreshing, smooth, cool feeling in your mouth. Liangfen and Bingfen provide the sensation. No other culture intuitively savors the similar yet distinct textures of sea cucumber, abalone, squid, and tendon like the Chinese do. Sea cucumber has a bouncy, jelly-like feel. Soaked squid is more sticky and thickly gelatinous. Tendon is chewy. Abalone is tender yet resilient. Texture unlocks new dimensions of flavor, and the Chinese have perfected this. Sadly, Westerners' grasp of texture is too rough, almost amateurish. It takes long practice to appreciate its wonders. Once, Fuchsia invited her parents, who'd traveled far to have hot pot in Chengdu. During the meal, Fuchsia noticed her father struggling with a particularly chewy goose intestine. The elderly gentleman maintained a polite expression while crunching and chewing. But Fuchsia knew he must be unhappy, probably thinking, what's the point of crunching on something like a bicycle tire? Fuchsia felt apologetic, yet also sorry for her father. Goose intestine is so delicious and crispy. Of course, Fuchsia isn't just a food lover, she's a professionally trained chef. So compared to seasoning and texture, she believes Chinese culinary art's most amazing aspect is knife skills. Chinese chefs have dozens of terms for cutting techniques. Bone steak slice, ox tongue slice, chopstick strips, beef steak, sliced horse, ear rice grain, eyebrow, flower, shape, and so on. Chinese cuisine emphasizes knife work because people eat with chopsticks, not knives and forks. Therefore, chefs must prepare ingredients with extreme precision. The three basic cutting methods in Chinese cuisine are slicing, chopping, and dicing. Considering cleaver angles and cutting directions, these basics transform into dozens of variations. Beyond these, there are over a dozen more techniques like pounding, scraping, and gouging. What amazes Fuchsia most is that this complex art relies on one simple cleaver. One cleaver handles large meat chunks and minces tiny shallots, with many clever uses beyond cutting. The knife's back can pound meat into paste. The wooden handle doubles as a grinding tool. The blade serves as a shovel to transfer food from board to wok. One cleaver handles nearly all kitchen tasks, starkly contrasting Western kitchens. Western chefs have dazzling knife sets plus centrifuges, dehydrators, even liquid nitrogen machines. Such kitchens resemble physics labs. As Fuchsia deepened her understanding of Chinese knife skills, she seemed increasingly odd to Western friends. When helping Western friends prep carrots or potatoes, she'd always ask, "What cut should I use?" They'd blankly say, "Just cut them," leaving her wondering, should it be elephant tusk strips or second thick shreds? Fuchsia also tells Western readers that the term Chinese food itself is problematic. China has multiple culinary traditions, vastly different from each other. Foods from different regions possess unique, commanding presences. Sichuan cuisine is spicy with a hint of sweetness, just like the fiery yet easygoing Sichuan people. Sichuan cuisine is straightforward and full of a leader's commanding presence. Cantonese cuisine emphasizes fresh ingredients most, while Huaiyang cuisine is elegant, refined, warm, and comforting. Shandong cuisine represents such fine dining, featuring expensive delicacies from land and sea. China has such complex and rich culinary traditions because this nation has an innate, deep-rooted passion for delicious food. Take the National Palace Museum's treasure, the meat-shaped stone, jade carved into braised pork on a gold base. To Fuchsia, this was utterly magical. She wrote, "I imagined roast beef made of gold, studded with diamonds, rubies, emeralds, and pearls in the Tower of London, with royal treasures. But that was absurd, utterly impossible. Only in China could artisans craft an ordinary-looking meat from precious materials as a national treasure." This seems like a metaphor for how seriously China takes food. Of course, beyond seriousness, there's wisdom, creativity, and joy. By now, we can agree Fuchsia is a true connoisseur of Chinese cuisine, but foreigners who understand it like her are rare. Though we Chinese proudly believe our cuisine is world's best, but foreigners, especially Westerners, hold deep prejudices against Chinese food. In the late 13th century, Marco Polo wrote with disgust that Chinese eat snakes, dogs, and even human flesh. In 1736, French Jesuit Du Halde described Chinese cuisine in amazement, noting consumption of deer penis, bear paws, cats, and rats. 19th century British surgeon Charles Toogood Downing recorded British sailors in Guangzhou's trading port had to eat cautiously, picking through food to avoid earthworms or cat bones. To many Westerners, shark fin and sea cucumber, beloved by Chinese taste like rubber, unappealing, let alone other unrecognizable ingredients in Chinese cuisine. Of course, it's the 21st century now. Chinese food has permeated daily life in Europe and America. Today in Britain, even the smallest towns have Chinese restaurants. 65% of households own a wok. Yet beneath this popularity lurk British ignorance, prejudice, even fear toward Chinese food. For example, Britain's Daily Mail published a 2002 article titled "Yuck, Chop Suey, Attacking Chinese Cuisine." It claimed Chinese food is the world's most deceptive, cooked by people who eat bats, snakes, monkeys, bear paws, birds' nests, shark fins, duck tongues, and chicken feet. In 2006, British TV aired comedian Paul Merton's four-episode China series covering cultural aspects. What Chinese food did they feature? Just dog meat and roadside hot pot? European tourists also shuddered recalling trips to China. In China, you never know what that sticky fluorescent thing on your chopsticks really is. In shark's fin and Sichuan pepper, fuchsia lists major Western prejudices against Chinese food. Some biases should be overcome by Westerners, but others have legitimacy. They reflect real issues within Chinese practices. The first Western prejudice: Chinese cooking methods are excessively cruel. Westerners are used to buying pre-processed ingredients from supermarkets. To them, Chinese wet markets seem brutal and bloody. Their people appear indifferent to life. Chopping fish heads is as casual as peeling potatoes, slaughtering ducks while leisurely smoking. Soon after arriving in Chengdu, Fuchsia faced a major shock. At a rabbit restaurant, the owner invited her to watch. Rabbits grazing in cages. Then he pulled one out, stunned it, tied its hind legs, hung it upside down, slit its throat, skinned and butchered it seamlessly. Before Fuchsia processed the brutality, she was ushered into the dining room. Soon, a steaming bowl of braised rabbit meat was placed before her, from live animal to table in less than 10 minutes. Of course, Fuchsia might have been deceived. The rabbit she ate wasn't the one killed in front of her. As we Chinese know, you can't cook a rabbit in 10 minutes. But then again, we all know that Chinese restaurants do have this habit of showing fresh ingredients to diners. That gradually, Fuchsia realized that if she wanted to seriously learn Chinese cooking, she had to get used to slaughter, because only with the freshest ingredients can you make delicious dishes. Gradually, she got used to the blood in wet markets and became like ordinary Chinese people, insisting that vendors kill fish, chickens, or eels in front of her. Fuchsia also thinks that Westerners' criticism of Chinese cooking as too cruel is somewhat hypocritical. In Europe and America, the stench of animal death is hidden like a secret sin. People buy safe, hygienic meat from supermarkets, while animals suffer bleak, painful, short lives in farms and are killed unseen by anyone. Whereas in China, you can see how meat comes to be, what it means. You watch with wide eyes, then choose to eat it. This way is indeed cruel and direct, but at least honest. The second Western prejudice against Chinese food is the love of MSG. When Fuchsia studied cooking at the Sichuan Higher Institute of Cuisine, the most surprising thing was that MSG was treated as the most ordinary seasoning. Teachers taught them how to add MSG to cold dishes and how to add a little at the end of cooking to enhance flavor. You should know that in most Western eyes, MSG is a terrible artificial additive only eaten in junk food. British kitchens wouldn't have MSG. If a decent restaurant were found using it, it would be a culinary scandal. So why do Chinese people happily use something that Westerners so reject? Fuchsia believes there are two main reasons. First, in the 1970s, Chinese life was very hard, with little meat. At this time, MSG emerged, allowing people to enjoy rich, umami flavor without meat, so it quickly became popular. The second reason is that Chinese people generally have a positive attitude towards science and technology. They don't reject MSG because it's artificial. In fact, they're interested because it's a scientific product. But when Fuchsia cooks herself, she doesn't use MSG. Instead, she'd rather buy top-notch ingredients to make broth. More importantly, when introducing Chinese recipes to Westerners, she never writes MSG in the seasoning section. You know, Western prejudice against MSG has damaged the international reputation of Chinese cuisine. Fuchsia also stresses that not every Chinese cuisine uses MSG, like Cantonese cuisine, which avoids it. Its seasoning is gentle, using just a bit of salt, sugar, wine, and ginger to keep things natural. Anyway, rejecting all of Chinese cuisine over MSG is a total loss. Finally, let's look at the third and biggest Western prejudice against Chinese food: that Chinese people eat everything. This can be split into two things. eating every part of an animal and eating any kind of animal. First, we'll talk about eating every part of an animal. According to Fuchsia, a typical Brit seeing Chinese people eat chicken feet might gag. Westerners even cooked up a theory that Chinese people were forced to eat things that shouldn't be food due to hunger. In other words, poor Chinese folks ate stuff like chicken feet, duck tongues, rabbit heads, pig brains, and goose intestines because life was tough and they were starving. If Chinese people heard that, they probably wouldn't get mad, just smile, keep snacking on duck tongues, or dipping chicken feet with a bit of pity or foreigners. Fuchsia notes that making tasty food from all animal parts shows a high-level complex cooking culture. Like in a whole duck banquet, wings, webs, liver, gizzard, tongue, heart, head, skin, and meat, each cooked special to give textures like smooth, chewy, thick, tender, and soft. This habit is also super economical. For example, with a chicken, Westerners usually just use breast, thighs, and wings, wasting the rest. But in China, chicken blood, gizzards, hearts, livers, and intestines can all make delicious dishes. Um, Next, let's look at the second scenario, eating any kind of animal. The most internationally spotlighted and exposed aspect is the Chinese market. Insatiable greed for wildlife. When discussing this issue, Fuchsia finally didn't defend China. She stated that since ancient times, China's elite have favored rare ingredients, craving exotic things like bear paws, leopard fetus, shark fins, birds' nests, and snow frogs. To this day, many rare ingredients remain favored by China's elite, who consume them while boasting about their health benefits and luxurious textures. But in truth, their main appeal lies in their rarity and expense, things only emperors could eat in the past. These nouveau riches' greedy appetites threaten not only China's wildlife and endangered species, but have become an international crisis. For example, China's wild freshwater turtles were eaten to extinction, so they imported them from Southeast Asia until those nearly vanished too. They then turned to North America for sea cucumbers, now too rare for commercial trade. They even sailed to Ecuador's Galapagos Islands to hunt. China's shark fin demand gravely threatens shark survival. In May 2007, a dilapidated wooden boat was found off Guangdong's coast. It carried 31 pangolins, 44 leatherback turtles, nearly 2,720 lizards, 1,130 red-eared sliders, and 21 bear paws wrapped in newspaper, all endangered species. They journeyed from Southeast Asian jungles to Guangdong dining tables. How many such boats exist? No one knows. China is the world's most voracious consumer of endangered species. Wildlife from every corner of the planet ends up in Chinese hot pots and medicinal soups. Undoubtedly, this is Chinese cuisine's greatest modern stain and vice. Fuchsia notes that compared to extravagant banquet culture, ordinary Chinese people's traditional diets embody the essence of Chinese cuisine. It's a model for all humanity, a lifestyle passed down generations, upheld by common folk and sages. A bowl of rice or noodles as staple, paired with simply cooked seasonal vegetables, various soy products, plus small portions of meat or fish for flavor and nutrition. This home-style eating minimizes environmental impact while offering balanced nutrition and sensory delight. Truly the best food. Every day at the dinner table, the sweet, sour, bitter, and spicy flavors all nourish life's vibrant moments, filling our world with warmth. All right, that wraps up our interpretation of shark's fin and Sichuan pepper for you. The reading notes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.